Again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back as we wrap up the week here on Ocala Talk. We always wrap it up with dumb crook news, Florida style. It's time
for your hearing pleasure, dumb crook news.
That's right. It's time for the Florida version of Dumb Crook News. 2 stories today out of Florida, both in the Tampa, St. Pete area. Florida woman in Clearwater, Florida. Florida woman was arrested. She appeared wearing a surgical mask in her mugshot. Anne Marie Tucker was arrested earlier this month. She said that she wanted to make sure that she had her mask with her because she was going into jail. She didn't want to get sick. She didn't want to be exposed to the coronavirus that may or may not be in the jail. She didn't want to risk exposure to the coronavirus. It's funny, though, she didn't want to risk exposure because that's what she got arrested for. She got arrested for having sex outside a hospital. She was arrested earlier this month, charged with misdemeanors of trespassing and exposure of sexual organs, as was her partner, Albert Singletary. They allegedly were on for their private areas were allegedly on full display to the public during the tryst. Happened across from St. Anthony's Hospital in St. Petersburg. Tucker pled guilty to both counts. Was released with time served plus probation. She had a previous arrest in Pinellas County, including for prostitution in 2016 and multiple arrests for possession of cocaine. Singletary, who's a transient, is still in jail in lieu of a $300 bond. But she wanted to make sure the arresting officers knew that she had her mask on because she didn't want to be exposed to the COVID virus. She exposed her entire private parts to a lobby of a hospital, but she wanted to make sure the deputy sheriff knew she did not want to be exposed to the coronavirus. I guess that's a woman that liked to be exposed but not exposed. I don't know. She liked exposing herself, but she didn't want her lungs or anything exposed to the coronavirus. Right outside of a hospital, too. I mean, I'm first off, we're not even talking about public sex and how crazy that is. But to do it right outside of the lobby of a hospital. I mean, I've seen a lot of public displays of nasty stuff. When this radio station was at the Cascades, the transient population that would come down and use the restroom behind the bushes because they thought they were blocked from the roadway, but behind the bushes were right in front of our windows. And the way we would see them use the restroom was just ridiculously gross. But I've never had anybody just openly have sex right in front of a hospital waiting room lobbying area with the windows there and everything. Well, now it's happened. And Anne Marie Tucker was arrested for it and charged with misdemeanors of trespassing and exposure, although she didn't want to be exposed to the coronavirus. And finally, a Michigan man on vacation in St. Petersburg, Florida, was taken into custody while still in commission of a crime. David Marcel Lewis Johnson was busted about 1 a.m. On the 8th of July for relieving himself on the bumper of a sergeant squad car in downtown St. Petersburg. According to the arrest affidavit, he was urinating on the police car. When the sergeant came back, saw what he was doing, put him in handcuffs as he was still urinating on the car. Believe it or not, he was uncooperative when questioning, didn't want to give his license up. He has pled not guilty to disorderly conduct. He had to post a $250 cash bond. He was in the middle of relieving himself on the cop car when the cop came up and arrested him. Put him in handcuffs while he was still in the act of relieving himself. Now, don't get me wrong. I've, different times in my life, I've probably come out of a bar somewhere in a metropolitan area and found a nook or cranny somewhere where you could, because you got to go. So there's a stairwell over there that's really dark and it looks secluded. Or there's this cop's bumper with the lights flashing around. I think I'll use the cop's bumper. Dumb crook. I mean, how do you have that conversation? There's a dark alley over here. Oh, there could be somebody in there that wants to kill me. Oh, this is a well-lit area with a cop car. I think I'll use the cop car for my bathroom. I don't get it, folks. I don't get it. But he was arrested in the process of relieving himself on the cop car. Birthdays today, Danny Bonaducci. Friday the 13th. This makes a lot of sense to me now. Danny Bonaducci from the Partridge Family fame. Remember, he was a little red-headed, smart-aleck kid in the Partridge Family. He is 62 today. Debbie Mazur from TV Land's Youngers, 57. John Slattery from Mad Men and Desperate Housewives is 57 as well. And Lennon Stella, she played the older of the two sisters on Nashville. She is 22 today. There are your birthdays today. Remember, it is left-handed day. So if you see somebody with right's left-handed or something, just let them know it's their day. And finally, on this day in history, it's probably why Lori Gregory moved from California, one of the reasons. August 13th, 2013, California makes transgender student law. The U.S. state of California became the first state to create rights and law for transgender school children. The law would make public schools from kindergarten to the 12th grade let transgender students access either the male or female bathrooms depending on their preference or how they identified. It would also allow transgender students to play either boys or girls sports depending on how they identified. Opponents said this would lead to sexual assaults ticking up because boys would go into girls' bathrooms and assault girls. Proponents of the law said it would reduce bullying and discrimination against transgender children. That is a hot topic right now across this country. But the first state to make it a law all the way back in August 13th of 2013 was the state of California. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Keep vigilant about Fred. Even though he's a tropical depression, they expect him to go back to a tropical storm. Probably the 11 o'clock advisory, maybe have him as a tropical storm. That advisory will come out in about 2 minutes. But it's going to be a rainstorm for sure. I don't know how much of it we'll get, but it looks like it's going to hug the west coast of Florida pretty much the whole way up until it comes into the Big Bend Panhandle area. So stay tuned to WOCA. We'll have the latest through our news breaks and everything. When you need the source, we will be here through the weather. And also Mike's weather page on Facebook is a good reference point as well. I want to thank all my guests I had this week. Thank all the callers and thank all the listeners, because without you, this show wouldn't be possible. I'm Tom Schmitz with Ocala Talks. Talk to you next week on WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
When it really counts, depend on The Source for the latest weather updates.